Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Michael Graham. I'm a board member with the National Is this not working? Okay. My name is Michael Graham. I'm a board member with the National Transportation Safety Board. Joining me today is our investigator in charge, Brian Young. At approximately 8:25 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Saturday, May 17th, the Mexican Navy tall ship Cuauhtémoc struck the Brooklyn Bridge on the East River, damaging the ship's three masts. Local authorities have reported that there were 277 personnel on board. Unfortunately, we had two fatalities during the bridge strike. And before I go any further, on behalf of the NTSB, I wish to express my most sincere condolences to the families and loved ones of those who lost their lives in this terrible tragedy. The NTSB arrived on scene late yesterday afternoon and throughout the evening, and our first day on scene was this morning, starting today. As it needs to be. This is the start of a long process. We will not be drawing any conclusions. We will not speculate. We will also not be determining the probable cause while we're on scene. The information that we provide today, is preliminary and is subject to change throughout the investigation. What you can expect from us is within 30 days we will have a preliminary report. Investigations take normally between 12 months to 24 months, with one stipulation. If we see some significant safety issue during the investigative process, we could put out an urgent safety recommendation for that issue, tied in the operating environment of that. This morning we had an organizational meeting, and we set up various teams, split up into different teams, and they are currently nautical operations, marine engineering, bridge engineering, survival factors, and recorders. We are currently working with our counterparts with the Mexican government to gain access to the ship. We are optimistic that we will have that access very soon. In the meantime, we are working to set up parties to the investigation. The U.S. Coast Guard is always a party to a marine investigation. They're automatically a party. And we thank them for getting on scene very quickly, and we do appreciate all their support so far in supporting our lead in this investigation. The bridge team from our Office of Highway Safety has been working today with the New York City Department of Transportation, and they were doing a survey with the department there, and they have affirmed at this point that there is no significant structural damage to the load-bearing elements of the bridge. There is some damage on one of the travelers, which they use to access and survey the bridge at this point, but nothing structural from the bridge is an issue at this point. I will point out that the NTSB has long had an interest in bridge safety, including bridge strikes. Just 2 months ago, we released an interim investigative report about the collapse of the Key Bridge in Baltimore after it was struck by the Dolly, in which we made urgent safety recommendations to numerous bridge owners. These included recommendations to calculate the risk of bridge collapse after being struck by a ship, and if that risk is over an industry threshold, to take steps to mitigate the risk. We have received comments back from the New York City Department of Transportation. We just received it. We're in the process of evaluating it, but accordingly they have reported that they have run the assessment and their threshold, their calculation is below the threshold. Sure, you bet. Our recorders group today, they've been canvassing the shoreline along the area where the accident is, trying to assess any closed-circuit TV and security cameras, and they have had some success today. We are very well aware that there's a lot of video out there in social media, people from cell phones and the such, and we would ask if you have video to first email us at witness@ntsb.gov. Again, that's witness@ntsb.gov. And we ask that you email us not the video, but that you have some. We will then send you a link to upload that video. We also have two personnel with us from our Office of Transportation Disaster Assistance, and they have been coordinating outreach with the Office of the Mayor of New York City, and we appreciate having them on scene. I will now turn it over to our investigator in charge, Brian Young, to give us some preliminary factual information. Brian?
Thank you. Based on preliminary navigational data, I can provide the following timeline for the vessel's movements in New York. The vessel arrived on May 13th around noon and docked port side 2 at Pier 17. The vessel remained there for about 3 days, and at 8:20 p.m. on May 17th, with the assistance of a tugboat, began backing away from Pier 17. The intent was to sail south down the East River and head for sea. Preliminary weather report at this time was dusk conditions, westerly winds about 10 knots, and the current was about 0.3 knots towards the bridge. Upon departing the pier, the vessel's astern motion and speed increased up to 6 knots. And at 8:24 p.m., a VHF radio broadcast was sounded requesting assistance from other tugboats in the area of the Brooklyn Bridge. That was followed by 2 other requests for assistance, and at 8:24 and 45 seconds, the vessel's mast struck the underside of the Brooklyn Bridge. At 8:27, the vessel came to a stop, and at 8:30, both NYPD and FDNY assets were on scene.
Thank you, Brian. Please follow us on X at NTSB_newsroom. Again, that's at NTSB_newsroom for any additional updates or further briefings. And before we get to questions, I want to thank all the first responders who were on scene, and they were on scene very quickly within 5 minutes of the bridge strike. And I'd also like to thank the ongoing coordination by the New York City Emergency Management. We appreciate all the work that they do and all the first responders. I'm going to take some questions, and before I do, I would ask that you raise your hand, and when I call on you, please state your name and affiliation, and we will do our best to restate the question for everybody in the room. First hand right there.
Hi, Lauren Lasper, WABC TV. In some of the video, we see a tugboat. We don't see a tether. But this is as it's leaving Pier 17. Can you talk to
Thank you. The question regards the status of the tugboat alongside the vessel. As far as we know at this time, the tugboat had assisted the vessel moving off the pier, and part of our investigation will be to look into the tugboat's policies and procedures for the operation once helping the vessel get off the pier, what its guidance would be and what its the job it would have to do.
Right here.
Hi there, Chris Bankley from CBS News. Two questions. Any sense that there's a data recorder, a voice recorder on this ship to obtain? And it sounds like from your timeline, whatever went wrong happened very quickly after that tugboat got it out off the pier. Is that right?
The first question was about any recording devices on board the vessel, such as a VDR, a voyage data recorder. Our recorders group, once getting aboard the vessel, will make a full assessment of any recording devices, and we will capture that information and retrieve it. And the other question was, it was approximately 5 minutes from the time the vessel started coming astern to the time they struck the bridge. Yes.
So you don't know at this point if there's a recorder?
We don't know at this time, not yet.
Right here.
Two questions as well. Number one, why wasn't the ship towed out of the harbor towards Bay Bridge? Why did you decide to opt using a towboat? And then, as far as what you're exploring is what might have caused the ship to hit the bridge, has there been any discussion over whether this was in engine failure or anything else towards Bay Bridge? Why the decision not to towards Bay Bridge? Why the decision not to use a towboat?
The question pertains to the use of a tugboat departing the harbor. Again, we are going to be, that's part of our nautical operations investigation, where we look at the procedures on what is the normal operation for a tugboat assist departing a pier.
Discussion over whether this was an engine failure or what might have led to this happen.
The question pertains to a possible cause of the bridge strike, possibly as an engine failure, and we have an engineering group led by myself, which am an engineer, and we will look at the status of the engine. We'll look for any failures, we'll look for engine inspections, and we'll talk to the crew on what may have possibly occurred with the engine. And additionally, if the engine has any sort of ECM or electronic control modules, we'll grab that electronic evidence as well.
We need to go to somebody else. I will also state, too, we haven't had a chance to do any interviews at this point. We need to interview the tugboat pilot, the harbor pilot. We'd like to the captain of the ship, and there's a lot of some other crew members we want to do, but we haven't had that chance. And again, we are not determining a probable cause, and we're not going to speculate about one because we haven't gathered enough information yet. We're just at the beginning of gathering the factual information. There's a question right here.
Hi there, Mark Reynolds.
Good.
Two questions. You mentioned for the 6 knots. Is that typical for the boat when it's leaving, or was there some sort of an acceleration? The other question I had was when you talked about the timeline, you said that the boat left at 8:20, and at 8:24, the tugboat was calling for help. When during that 4-minute period was it determined that the boat was out of control? I guess I'm asking, when was the earliest is that the earliest time that the tugboat could call for help? It seems like that was only seconds before it struck the bridge and flew away.
Okay. Go ahead and state the first question again.
The 6 knots. Was that typical of this kind of a thing, or was there some sort of another acceleration? Was that standard notated at that time?
The question regards the speed of the vessel at the time it made contact with the bridge, and it was at 6 knots. We are going to be accessing all the different electronic data to determine at what point the vessel began accelerating. We do have a bit of time where it was maintaining a constant speed of about 2.3 knots, and then the speed began to increase. And that's something we will be looking into as part of our engineering assessment of the operation of the engine.
And what time did it start to increase?
I'll have to check the data, but we have certain data points that we would be able to look at. And the request for help, we had one bit of navigational data that we were looking into. It was the VHF radio. There may have been phone calls. There may have been a cell phone call that we haven't yet discovered. But the first bit of evidence that we have that any VHF conversation was had was at 8:45. I'm sorry, I said 20:24 and 45 seconds.
In the back.
I'm sorry if you addressed this. Mia Clark from New York One. I'm sorry if you addressed this already as part of your back here. The NYPD put out a preliminary report saying that there was a power failure of some sort of mechanical issue. I understand you're not drawing conclusions now. Do you have any idea where the NYPD may have gotten that information from?
Okay, the question's about the NYPD basically putting out preliminary information about maybe a power outage to the engine or something like that. We don't know where they got that data from. We have, like Brian has told us already, we haven't even had chance to access the engine. So we don't know that. We haven't had a chance to look to see if there's any recorded data or anything like that. So we're not sure where they got that from. But that'll be part of the investigation too. If somebody has information like that, where did they get it from? We don't know at this point. Okay, let me come back over. Back in the back. A little louder, please. I know the air conditioning is really loud.
Do you have any information about the ship departed early into the location?
I'm sorry, say it again.
So, do you have any information that the ship departed early, that it was supposed because the condition, the weather conditions?
Ship, okay. The question is, do we have any information that the ship departed early because of the weather coming in? We have no information on that at all. We haven't had a chance to talk to any of the crew at this point. Okay.
Why is that?
We are waiting. The question is, why haven't we had a chance to talk to the crew yet? We are working with our counterparts in the Mexican government to gain access to the ship, and hopefully with some of the crew members to be able to interview them. Not unlike the harbor pilot, the docking pilot, we're going to interview them here in the near future. Question?
Have you gotten any response from the Mexican government? Have you actually spoken to some officials, or you are waiting to see for any response?
The question is, have we spoken with the Mexican government and all? We have our officials, our counterparts on the other side. Our general counsel is working with them at this time. We're also working with the vessel agent, and we are very well aware that there's also other crews that the city would like to move the ship to a salvage yard very soon, and there's going to access that needs to be done so that they can actually assess the hull integrity from inside the ship, hopefully also. Another question right here.
Sir, I have two questions for you. First, where exactly is the crew now and where is the ship now? And then secondly, in previous bridge strikes, what have been the spectrum of causes? Can you just take us through that?
Okay, you want to?
The first question was where are the crew and the ship at this time? They are docked on the east side of Manhattan, and the intent is once it is deemed that the vessel is structurally sound, they will tow it to a repair facility.
And they're living on the ship, living there?
Yes, the crew is living on the ship right now.
And then the second question about the spectrum of possible causes for previous bridge strikes in the U.S.
Give me the whole question again.
Sure. Can you just take us through the spectrum of past bridge strike causes?
Okay, he's asking a question about the whole spectrum of previous bridge strikes and causes. There are multiple bridge strikes out there, and it depends on the size of the ship in many cases. The vast majority of them, looking at the statistics, have been barges. I think a lot of them are mainly on our inland rivers. We've had numerous recommendations out there over the years. The most current one we have was from the Dolly in Baltimore, and you saw the results of that bridge strike. It was catastrophic. So that's why we put out an urgent safety rec just here recently for bridge owners to take a very close look at their risk assessment of their vulnerability of a bridge being brought down by a boat strike or a ship strike. Okay. One more question, right here.
So I want to ask about the crew. We've seen that many of them went back to Mexico. So the folks on the ship, are those people the ones that you need to interview? And could you just go ahead and detail about not being able to access the ship yet? I'm sorry, one more. I was at the ship this morning, and I saw some folks up on the mast moving stuff around. Is that going to mess with your investigation?
Okay, the question is about the number of crew, initially the first question, and how many of them left the ship. It has been reported that the City of New York helped approximately 179 cadets leave the country last night to go back to Mexico. And it has been reported also by the city that there are, I believe it's 94 crew members on board working. The other part of the question was about people working up in the mast earlier today. Yes, I was on scene myself on the dock. We did see some crews up there. I don't want to speculate what they're doing, but I know there is concern by everybody, especially those that are going to help move the ship to a shipyard, that we need to secure the mast up there, since some of it is broken off and it's entangled in the lines. So those are obviously going to have to be secured before the ship is moved, so that doesn't create another hazard. Okay? Thank you very much.